when it is ankle deep, they will be swept away by it. Report says more than 1,680 school children have been kidnapped since 2014. Abduction of 276 schoolgirls from Chibok in Borno State, with fear of attacks stopping many others from ever attending school. The data by a group say Save the Children shows that more than 180 school children were killed and nearly 90 others injured in 70 attacks between April 2014 and December 2022. An estimated 60 school staff were kidnapped and 14 killed, while 25 school buildings were destroyed within that period. Wale, this is a very worrisome statistics, especially if you look at the northern part of the country, that the school enrollment statistic is not so encouraging. And if they are faced with this kind of situation, this might discourage more parents from sending their children to school.
It's a very unfortunate incident. We are talking about 1,680 something. That is a lot. Mm. And if you look at these figures coming out from Northwest and North Central, those are the places that are most affected. And I think 70% of attacks, 70 attacks were listed, in this, the period under review. And I think as we speak now, we still have about 90 Chibok girls, if not more, that are still in captivity. Some of them, we are not sure, maybe they are alive. Maybe they are dead. Some of them, we have even given birth to reluctant family that is not out of your own way. And I think as we speak now, in some northern states, there are still so many schools that are closed down, especially in Katsina, So I think it's a major problem, especially considering the low turnout of school enrollment in the Northwest and North Central. So what you are going to see is that a lot of families will not take their children to school again. So that is going to have a lot of impact on the present and future of a lot of people, a lot of families in the North. And we see a situation where a lot of them are also moving down south to look for education. But some are already also suffering the impact of trauma. Most students that were rescued are saying that they don't want to go back to school again, because once they step into that school, the memory flashes back, and then they have the kind of trauma that they can't imagine going back to school again and be kidnapped the second time. So I think this is a very worrisome development, and we hope that our schools will be seen as strategic assets that deserve special protection, so that we will not have this kind of kidnapping of students any longer. If you kidnap an adult, well, it's bad, but it's worse when children who don't even know anything, 4 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, and for especially some of them that are, the girl child that are just married to some irresponsible elements who take them to the bush, pregnant them, even raise children, one child, second child. So what is the future of that kind of family? So I hope it's a call-up challenge that I hope the new government will be able to rise up to the occasion.
This statistics is not encouraging at all.
It's not. There's a reason bandits go for school children. It's because they know that once they go for school children, it will attract newspaper headlines, big banner headlines in newspapers. It will attract the attention of government. Otherwise, they could just kidnap commuters, take them away into the bush in buses and all that. But they always go for students, because they know once they go for students that it will attract the attention that they want. They like to draw attention to themselves. So you can see, and people usually would raise hell that our government is not protecting people, the people people will insist that government must bail them out no matter what. So they always have in mind the fact that government would bring millions of naira to get those students released. Whereas if there were ordinary people that were just picked up, maybe they were going for a wedding, they were picked up, it may not attract that kind of headline, and it may not even attract government attention. So deliberately, they go for the students. In 2021, government girls secondary school, Jengebe, in Katsina, in Zamfara, was attacked. 317 girls were taken away. I returned to that school. I went to that school in August 2022. That's a little over a year after the school had reopened. School had just reopened. And I spoke with some of the teachers. The truth is, half of the students didn't come back. I asked them the staff strength and the number of students in the school. Half of them refused to return to the school because they didn't want a situation in which the children just became terrified that this could happen again. And these are people that you are even doing your best to encourage them to go to school. You're trying to discourage early marriage. You are trying to improve on school enrollment and all that. And these things are happening. There's nothing that discourages children from going to school than the feeling that they are not safe within the four walls of the school. So half of them had clearly not returned to school. And that's significant. That bandits will come to a school. And even after they were released, half of the school, not half of those who were kidnapped, half of the students refused to go back to school. So, and they've attacked other schools like that, especially in that same Northwest. Kaduna, you saw the School of Forestry, students were kidnapped, they were even flogging them. So, efforts must be made to keep the schools safe. In about 11 to 12 local government in Katsina where banditry is rampant, government decided that, look, it's best to close these schools. Some schools that were even, that had boarding facilities, for fear of these people sneaking in at night and kidnapping them, the boarding facilities, even in the heart of town, government stopped boarding facilities because there's no guarantee that these people will not come back and pick these children. And as we've said, 49 attacks in the Northwest alone. In Zamfara, it's still happening. Students of the Federal University in Guso, they are still being kidnapped. Even as we speak, they will sneak into their hostels, pick them in ones and twos, take them into the bush. So 49 attacks in the Northwest alone, 11 attacks in North Central. These are grim statistics. If we want to reduce drastically the number of out-of-school children, then we've got to do something about the security of our schools. Otherwise, we will not solve that problem. And more students will rather drop out of school and live with their parents.
I think government should also be deliberate in this now to make sure, to ensure the safety, since they know the areas that we have children that are endangered in terms of, the number of out-of-school children. And we are still looking for, what's her name?
Leah Sharibu.
Years after.
It's a very painful thing. Like Babajide said, the schools that have been closed currently affect some no fewer than 30,000 students that can't go to, children that cannot go to school. But we should sound a note of caution. We have cited Northwest and North Central. Other states should not go and relax. Schools should be seen as everywhere all over the world, even if there are no kidnapping cases. Governments must make sure that you have a kind of special focus wherever you have vulnerable people like children. Because if there is any attack of whatever form, they just even don't know how the form of response that they need to, put forward. So I think whether it's in North Central, Northwest, Northeast, state governments should take preemptive measures to ensure that they protect secondary schools and primary schools, constantly by working with all these security institutions to ensure that they focus on these places and ensure that this does not happen again.
And sometimes too, when alarm is raised, we are too slow.
Yeah.
That was what
the response rate, Chibok,
FGC Yauri. They were writing exams, but they were alerted that these people were coming. But because they had almost come to the end of the exams, the federal government that's in charge of Unity School said it's better they let them finish the exams. And before they finished the exam, Dogo Gideon and his people came. And a good number of those guests were married to the bandits. They returned home with kids. These are 16-year-olds just writing their final school start examination. It's terrible.
Terrible, right?
Yes, more than a year, we kept them, turned them to sex slaves and all that. So it's just terrible. So
even the impact on the parents. And your small girl.
The parents sold everything they had.
Yeah.
I know a parent who was already retired. He sold their building just to get, that was in Kaduna, to get their child or their son who was detained, who was abducted, out of the hands of these bandits, because they are very, very tough when it comes to negotiation. They insist they want 50 million. They will tell you, go and get it whichever way you can.
Just imagine the agony the parents of Leah Sharibu will be going through. Instead of you, it's better. Yoruba people say it's better that your child is dead, and you see that this is where my child was buried, and a missing one that I can't account for.
Only God can bring that one back, because what I heard was that she was married to one of the leaders of the group, and for some of those guests, there is no plan to come back, because some even did a video where they said, "Look, we are happy where we are not coming back."
Stockholm,
some of the Chibok girls. So these things happen once they are in love with
the animals that picks them.
They just, because
and they would have been radicalized.
The commanders enjoy benefits that the ordinary fighters don't have, and those benefits are extended to the people married to them. So some of them are already converted, and frankly, many of them have no plans to get out of the place. That is the truth. We've seen some that even got out and went back to the bush. So it's just terrible.